All right, you guys really gave us some interesting stuff to unpack this time.
Yeah, this is a fun one.
I mean, a video of Islam Makhachev just hanging out with Khabib and his friends. This is not your typical pre-fight hype video, is it?
It's not.
This is like behind the scenes real Islam.
Uh-huh.
And it's full of little like interesting nuggets about him as a person and as a champion.
It really is, yeah.
So to kick things off, I mean, one thing that struck me right away was how playful Makhachev is.
Yeah.
Like constantly teasing Khabib, especially about his retirement. It's almost like he's like poking him, saying, "Come on, Khabib, get back in the game."
I mean, you don't really see that side of champions very often, you know?
Yeah.
Like just relaxing, being himself.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that playfulness, it almost makes him more likable, more relatable.
I think so too.
Especially because he's known for being, this intense, like dominating fighter in the octagon. But then you see this other side of him, this humor, and it makes you connect with him on a different level, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
It humanizes him,
It does. And think about it, like it probably helps him connect with fans too.
Absolutely.
Because it makes it more approachable, more real,
Yeah, you're not just seeing like the fighting machine, you're seeing the person behind the fighter.
Right. Exactly.
And there was this one part where he's joking with Khabib about his English, which is funny.
Yeah.
But then Makhachev himself says something really interesting about language. He says, English is important. If you want to make money, you have to speak some language, which everybody understands.
Right. Which is a good point, honestly.
It is.
Especially in a global sport like MMA.
Exactly.
Where you want to reach fans all over the world.
It shows a real awareness, I think, of the business side of MMA. Right?
Yeah, for sure. He's not just thinking about winning fights. He's thinking about building a brand. And, connecting with a wider audience, that translates to a bigger platform, more opportunities.
For sure. And speaking of global reach, he brings up Dagestani wrestling.
Uh-huh.
And the immense pride he has in his heritage, which, I mean, who wouldn't? But he even goes so far as to say that Dagestan could produce 5 world champions in wrestling.
5!
I mean, that's a bold statement.
Yeah, that's a pretty bold statement.
I don't know if I completely agree, but it definitely shows his conviction.
Yeah, definitely. And he's not just talking the talk, he's walking a walk. Like, remember that story about his kids?
Yeah.
Going to Dagestan for training, coming back and dominating American kids in wrestling.
Right.
I mean, that's a powerful anecdote because it shows that his belief in the superiority of Dagestani wrestling, it's not just talk. It's a conviction rooted in real-world results.
Absolutely.
Yeah?
It's like he's saying, look, this isn't just about my personal pride. This is a system that works. This is a system that produces champions.
Right.
And he's putting his money where his mouth is.
Exactly. But it's interesting, though, like Khabib doesn't make quite as bold a claim.
Right.
Even though he obviously respects a tradition,
yeah,
he doesn't go as far as Makhachev does in terms of like claiming absolute dominance.
It is interesting how there's that subtle, but it is there, that subtle difference between the two of them.
Yeah.
Which I guess you'd expect because even within a shared heritage, people are going to have different perspectives.
Right, exactly. But shifting gears a bit, Makhachev also talks about the importance of image in MMA.
Yeah.
Particularly when he brings up Nate Diaz.
Yeah. He was talking about how, like, Nate Diaz is super respectful off camera, but then puts on this whole, like, tough guy persona for the public.
Right, exactly.
And I thought that was really interesting because it raises the question of, like, authenticity in MMA.
Yeah.
How much of what we see is genuine and how much is a carefully constructed persona?
Right. I mean, how much of it is for the fans?
Yeah.
And how much of it is, like, the real person?
Right, exactly.
Because you have to cultivate a fan base.
Yeah. Right.
You have to create an image that people are drawn to.
And I think that's kind of what we were talking about earlier with Makhachev's playfulness, right?
Yeah.
Is it a strategic move to show a different side of himself, or is he just being like authentically Islam?
Right. And I think for someone who emphasizes connecting with a global audience as much as he does, it makes you wonder, how much of that is intentional?
Yeah, for sure.
It's like, how much is he managing his image?
Yeah, it makes you think.
Yeah, it does. And then there's that funny bit where he complains about Khabib's team editing the highlights of his fight with Bobby Green.
Oh, yeah.
Saying they cut out all his takedowns.
Yeah, like, where are my takedowns, guys?
Right. And it's lighthearted, sure, but it makes you think, is there a part of him that feels like a little overshadowed by Khabib?
Maybe.
Even though he has his own championship belt.
Yeah.
It's like he's trying to carve out his own space, get recognition for his unique skills.
Yeah.
And especially those takedowns, which are like such a huge part of his fighting style.
It's almost like he's got this like little chip on his shoulder.
Maybe a little bit, yeah.
Like, hey, I'm here too. Don't forget about me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's completely understandable, I think, considering, he was operating under the immense shadow of Khabib.
He is.
But, for all this talk about his playful side, his brand building, there's also a deeper side to him.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We're just scratching the surface here.
There's a champion's mindset at work here, and I think we need to delve into that a bit more.
Oh, yeah, for sure. There's a lot more to uncover about what makes Islam Makhachev tick.
Absolutely.
So I feel like we've talked a lot about the man, about Islam, about his personality.
Right.
But we're here to talk about the champion, What makes him tick as a champion, and this whole champion's mindset. I feel like this is where it really comes in.
Absolutely. I mean, it's not just about the physical training.
Right.
It's almost like an intangible quality.
Yeah.
That separates the good from the great. And I think you see it in Makhachev even beyond like the training and the fights.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, you remember that anecdote about his kids training in Dagestan?
Yeah.
That, like, it wasn't just a fun, like, family trip.
Right.
It was about, like, instilling a mindset.
It was.
Passing on that legacy of resilience, of dedication.
It's about building character, not just champions.
Yeah.
And when he talks about, his kids, dominating these American kids after training in Dagestan, there's a sense of pride there.
Yeah.
That goes beyond just like a fatherly boast,
Yeah.
It's like, this is what our system can do.
Yeah, right.
This is the power of our heritage.
Yeah. I think it makes you think that maybe that's what fuels Makhachev.
Yeah.
Is that sense of representing something bigger than himself.
Absolutely.
It's not just about personal glory, it's about upholding a tradition.
Upholding a tradition.
Proving the dominance of Dagestani wrestling on the world stage.
Right, exactly. It feeds into his own champion's mindset.
Mm-hmm.
It's like he's carrying the weight of that tradition.
Yeah.
On his shoulders, and pushing himself to live up to those expectations,
right.
To honor that legacy.
Yeah.
He's not just fighting for himself, he's fighting for something much larger.
Right. And with all that weight on his shoulders, you'd think he would be like crumbled by it.
Yeah.
But he's not. Like, he thrives under pressure.
He does, yeah.
Like, remember that moment in the video, I think it was toward the end, where they were talking about his title defenses?
Yeah.
And he just quietly acknowledges having 4 title defenses.
Yeah.
Not in a way of like, oh, look at me, I'm so great, but just like,
right.
Yeah, I've got 4.
Matter of fact. Yeah.
A quiet sense of accomplishment. Like,
exactly, yeah.
It's just what he does,
Yeah, and I think in that moment, we get a little glimpse into like the weight of that championship.
Yeah.
The responsibility that comes with being at the top,
Yeah.
It's not just about, winning belts and all that.
Right.
It's about like carrying yourself with a certain dignity.
Yeah.
A certain, awareness of the legacy you're now a part of.
Right. I think that like that responsibility, it's intertwined with that champion's mindset.
Yeah.
It's about that constant striving for improvement.
Absolutely, yeah.
Pushing your limits, never settling.
It's a mindset that goes beyond the physical,
Yeah.
It's about mental fortitude.
So, yeah.
It's about conquering your doubts,
right.
Your fears, embracing challenges,
yeah,
using them as fuel,
right, yeah,
to grow even stronger.
Yeah.
And remember how he got like playfully frustrated about those edited highlights.
Yeah.
It wasn't just about the credit.
Right.
It was about like this constant desire to improve.
Right. Yeah.
To showcase the full range of his skills.
Yeah. I think that's what makes him so compelling to watch.
Yeah,
it's not just the physical dominance, the impressive record.
Right.
It's that fire that he has.
Yeah.
That drive, that like unrelenting drive to prove himself, not just to the world, but to himself.
I think you hit the nail on the head there.
Yeah.
This video really gives us a glimpse behind the curtains.
It does.
You know, a chance to see the dedication, the discipline, the unwavering belief that fuels his success.
Yeah.
And it's a reminder, that greatness isn't just about physical prowess.
Yeah.
It's about cultivating a champion's mindset.
A mindset, yeah.
That allows you to overcome any obstacle, any challenge.
Right.
To reach your full potential.
So we've explored his playful side, his sharp business sense,
right?
His deep-rooted pride and his heritage,
right?
The champion's mindset that drives him to excel. But there's one more layer I think we need to peel back here.
Yeah,
and it has to do with his evolution as both a fighter, I think, and as a person.
Yeah,
because he is, whether he likes it or not, he is operating in the shadow of a legend.
That's a key point.
Yeah.
How does he navigate that legacy? How does he establish his own unique identity while, honoring that tradition that shaped him?
Right.
That's what we got to delve into next.
It's funny, like, this video, it almost challenges how we think of, like, what a champion can be.
Yeah.
We tend to, like, put fighters in these boxes, especially in MMA.
Right. It's easy to get caught up in the stereotypes.
Yeah, like, tough guy, trash talk.
Right. Got to prove how dominant you are all the time.
Exactly. But Makhachev kind of breaks that mold.
He does, yeah.
He's not just a fighter, he's playful.
Yeah.
He's, business savvy. He's clearly deeply connected to his culture, like a devoted father passing on a legacy,
Yeah. All these different layers to his personality.
And that's what makes him, I think, so compelling, is he's showing that you can be, you can be a dominant champion.
Right.
But also be multifaceted.
Absolutely.
Engaging.
Yeah. He's not afraid to, be himself.
Yeah.
Both inside and outside the octagon.
Makes you wonder, could this be a turning point for MMA?
Ooh, that's interesting.
Could we see, a shift away from those, stereotypical fighter personas?
Yeah.
Towards something a little bit more authentic, a little more relatable?
What if that's the new blueprint?
Right.
What if Makhachev's approach with the blend of, strength, humor, cultural pride, global awareness, what if that becomes, the recipe for success?
That would definitely shake things up a bit, wouldn't it?
It would.
But there's, there's one more piece to this puzzle, right?
Yeah.
We got to address the elephant in the room.
The shadow of Khabib.
Right.
Looming large.
Yeah. How does he step out of that shadow?
Yeah.
How does he establish his own legacy?
That's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
And this video gives us some clues.
Yeah.
Remember that bit where he was playfully frustrated?
Yeah.
About those edited fight highlights?
Yeah.
That desire to have his own skills recognized, his takedowns?
Yeah.
That hints at a champion who wants to be judged.
Right.
On his own merit.
Yeah.
Not just as Khabib's successor.
Right.
And he even emphasizes, the importance of speaking English, reaching that wider audience.
Right. Which is interesting.
It suggests that he's not content with just dominating in the octagon.
Right.
He wants to connect with fans.
Globally, yeah.
Yeah.
Build his own brand, leave his own mark,
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that might be his key.
Right.
To stepping out of that shadow.
Yeah.
By forging his own path, embracing his unique personality, skills, connecting with that global fan base.
It's going to be really interesting to see how it all plays out,
Oh, yeah.
I feel like this whole deep dive, it's really given us a lot to chew on.
It has.
About Islam Makhachev.
Yeah.
About what it means to be a champion.
We've uncovered some hidden layers here.
Yeah. Personality, ambition.
Yeah.
Deep-rooted pride and heritage.
Yeah.
And it's just a good reminder that, there's always more than meets the eye.
Right.
Especially with those who dare to step into the spotlight.
Absolutely. So next time you see Makhachev in the octagon, remember that playful side.
Yeah.
The business savvy.
Right.
The pride in his heritage.
Uh-huh.
And that champion's mindset that drives
that champion's mindset, yeah. And consider this,
Yeah.
Could he be ushering in a new era?
Right.
In MMA?
Yeah.
Where authenticity and global connection are as valuable as dominance?
It's a good question.
Only time will tell.
Well, I think it's safe to say that we have successfully completed our deep dive into the world of Islam Makhachev.
I think so too.
Beyond the octagon, we've discovered a champion who defies expectations and challenges those perceptions of what it means to be at the top.
Yeah.
And who knows, maybe he'll inspire a whole new generation of fighters.
Right.
To embrace their individuality and connect with the world in their own way.
That's what makes it so thought-provoking.
Yeah.
It's not just about understanding one champion.
Right.
It's about understanding the evolving nature of the sport itself.
Punchlines and punches, hard hits, sharp wit, no holding back.